Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It is me, Kay, and I am here today to bring you Beyond the Gate Season 2, Episode 108 review. Okay, y'all, so I think this review may be brief, but we're going to see because I had to give myself a little bit of time to actually think about what it is that just went on. Okay, so we are still reeling from, the aftermath at the clubhouse. They have started transitioning people to the hospital. As we know, Martin did get hit by a tree and he was up and he was conscious. But as Smitty was getting ready to leave the country club to take Martin to the hospital, Martin collapsed and Martin was unconscious. And so Ted and Shanice and Ashley were working on him, trying to take his vitals and everything. And luckily, almost everyone was gone, but there was still some of the emergency crew there. And so they were able to get Martin onto a bed and transport him to the hospital. I think Shanice came outside to let Nicole know what was going on with Martin. And so Smitty, or was it Shanice or was it Chelsea? One of them came out there to let her know that what happened to Martin. And so they were going to transport Martin to the hospital, so everybody was there. Vernon and Anita had gone home because, as you know, Anita had sprained her ankle in the melee of everything that was going on. And so Vernon just wanted to make sure everybody was straight. And you could tell that, like, this event had worn on Vernon because, I guess because it was his family's country club or just because of the type of man that Vernon is. Vernon wanted to make sure that everybody was straight. He wanted to make sure that everybody had the help they needed and that everybody was accounted for. And so we see that, and after Martin leaves, I think it's just Shanice, Ashley, Jacob, and Naomi in the ballroom. And so Shanice just really trying to, like, gather herself, and Ashley was trying to figure out what else could be done, what else did she need to do. And then they just had a moment they talked about Derek and everything and how Derek would have been heavily involved in what was going on that night. And then after that, they were all headed to the hospital. Well, Jacob was going back to the police office, and then the rest of them were going to the hospital. Now, mind you, I just want to bring this up because, Carlton has been trying to call Naomi, but she hasn't answered yet. So I'm just like, aside from her going to the hospital to check on everybody else, is she going to go to the hospital and check and see exactly what it is that's going on, why he's been trying to contact her? Okay, so moving on, we get to the hospital, and the big person of concern for today's episode was Eva. We find out the update. I was about to say the updated status on Eva's condition. And come to find out, I'm thinking that Eva has suffered some internal bleeding. They never exactly said what exactly happened to Eva, but they did say that she needed a transplant and that she would need a liver transplant, to be exact. I'm not sure as to why she was spitting up blood, but apparently there was some internal bleeding because I did hear Isaiah say that there was some internal bleeding. And Isaiah is just really just taking it hard because, Eva, he had Eva's hand, and then when he let go, I guess to help someone else, him and Eva got separated. Leslie is there, and, for once, I'm going to let Leslie slide because what happened was a serious situation for her. But Leslie is just scared. She kind of chewed Kat out a little bit. I mean, what she said to Kat wasn't exactly wrong, I should say. But Kat and Tomas showed up to the hospital nonetheless because regardless of what's going on, all beef aside, Kat is still Eva's sister. Or she is known to be of her sister. And so she is there just to check on the status because she doesn't want, regardless of whatever happened, she don't want nothing bad to happen to Eva. And so she's scared. And you could just see how emotional and how much weight she feels on herself, because even before the whole situation happened and before she realized how serious of a moment it was, her and Eva were in the closet arguing, you know. And so, but Isaiah did bring up the point that while, you know, everything was going on, Kat did scream for Eva's help. Like she screamed the entire time. And so, you know, Leslie, I think, is just also in this moment going through a little bit of internal like discord, because she hasn't been the nicest to people. She hasn't been the best person. And so I'm thinking that she's feeling like this is her payback. Something happening to her daughter is her payback. But we could see, like, based on like throughout the series, that when it comes to her family members or people who are left with her family, Leslie is very involved. Like we saw that she even went through like everything, or she made sure that Peaches got the best of everything. So it's no doubt in my mind now that they have gotten these results about Eva, that she's going to make sure Eva has gotten the best of everything. She was more than ready and willing to get tested to make sure she was a donor. You know, and I'm glad that Ted was there to kind of like mellow her back down, because she was up there. She was up there, but Ted was able to like level her out. And so I guess that's the best thing, you know, about this whole thing. Nicole did go to the house to check on Samantha and Tyrell, because they were there in the brownstone in the dark, and they were worried about everything because they hadn't heard. They were tracking the storm, and they were concerned also about June because they hadn't heard from June either. And so the power started coming on, you know, at everyone's house. And so they were just waiting, and luckily, like right when Samantha was telling Tyrell how glad she is to have him, and you know they're always close, because at the end of the day, you know, while they were going through with their mom, they were all they had. And so with everything going on, you know, Nicole finally pops through the door. She gives the kids an update on what happened to Martin, and then they proceed to go to the hospital to check on his status. Now, one thing that I did notice at the hospital was that Madison was working. I thought that Madison was on suspension or something because she couldn't work. I mean, because of, you know, the lawsuit. So I was wondering if, because this was like a traumatic event and they needed all hands on deck, was she, you know, given a green light to work? Or is it because now that, you know, Leah is not the chief officer anymore, is she able to resume working? Because they haven't filled it in yet. I was just wondering that. Also, during this whole thing about Eva, they were saying that she needed a living donor. And so I was a little curious now. I did go to school for a medical science, but I was unfamiliar with the liver. So I did have to go up and brush back up on it. So apparently, anatomical fact of the day, that the liver is the only organ in your body that can regenerate. So say, for example, if they take part of it out, within a couple of months, the liver would have grown back. And so I was just like, okay, so with Eva's liver being damaged, I was wondering, you know, what was it not enough of a good portion that they could just take the rest out and then, you know, the rest of it? I guess not. Maybe if she needs a donor. So are they going to take her whole liver out? Like, I didn't look up that part, but I just thought that was interesting. Interesting scientific fact of the day. So I'm guessing, you know, with everything going on, and because this is a soap opera, I'm guessing Ted and Leslie may not be a match, or it might not be a match. I know Isaiah said that he was willing to, you know, donate if he has to, if he's a match. Which also you could very well see, like I said, you can see that Isaiah like really has fallen deeply for Eva. And I love that for Eva. I know Eva be catching a lot of hate, but I do think Eva is trying to change. It's just the fact that, like, she don't hold her mama accountable for, in the times that she needs to hold her mama accountable for. But Kat was right there nonetheless. And I'm kind of glad that Kat did come, because regardless of, you know, how she felt, because we did see her have a brief conversation with Jacob about, you know, people was going to be blaming her. And Leslie, that's the first thing Leslie did. She was like, so are your angels better than Eva's angels? Like, she was going in on her. But nonetheless, Kat was there. Tomas was there. And, you know, they were able to, you know, be there to comfort Leslie, regardless of how mean she was to them. And like I said, Ted reeled her back in. Now, one thing we did see Joey and Vanessa back at Joey's penthouse. And we saw that, you know, Vanessa was just so worried about her kids because she couldn't get in contact with them. And so Joey was just doing everything, you know, to comfort her and calm her down. Offered to run her a bath or make her a drink, like some candles, you know, just to create a relaxing environment. But she said that she would not relax until she got in touch with her kids. So as the service and the power and everything started coming on, Deanna was actually able to get through to Vanessa on the phone. Vanessa talked to Deanna, and Deanna, you know, was telling her mom, was in the middle of telling her mom that she was glad that she was okay and she finally got in contact with her, and that, you know, she came to realize that nothing else really mattered but their family. Everything else was just noise. And right when she said that, Joey walks out of the back and tells Vanessa that the bathtub in the hot jasmine oil is ready. I screamed. I was like, oh my God, Joey, you have perfect timing. Jesus. Because Deanna then was like, oh, so wow, you saying you cared about me and Donnell, that's all you cared about. You over there finna get rubbed down by Joey. Gross. And she was like, bye, Mom, and hung up the phone. And I was like, dang, just when I was about to make some leeway, Joey came in and effed it up. Dang. But yeah, Martin turned out to be okay. You know, Vernon did end up calling Nicole, trying to see where Martin was, but she forgot to call Vernon and tell him that Martin actually was unconscious and was passed out, and that he was getting tested, he was getting looked at, and he hadn't woken up yet. And so while Vernon was on the phone, Madison came back in to tell the family, you know, Martin's update that Martin was awake and that they would be bringing him back in from testing into the room. Vernon was on the phone. Nicole handed Chelsea the phone, and Chelsea filled Vernon in on about everything. And so Vernon was just like, you need to remember that if anything ever goes down with this family, I am the first person you call. I was like, yes, Granddaddy Vernon, put your foot down. Let them know the children, the grandchildren, and the great-grandchildren will be accounted for. And if anything goes on with all of them, we will be there. I said, I like the way Vernon take charge, and, you know, he need to know all about his family. He need to know what's the tea going on with all his family, and don't leave him out the loop. Don't ever do that again. Him and Anita was about to jump off the couch and come to the hospital. I was like, yes, Vernon, we will call you, Vernon. We will call you and let you know everything, every detail. Put you on FaceTime, let you hear the doctor's report and everything. But Anita did, when they did get off the phone, Anita was just like, you know, Vernon, this is the first time, like, our family, you know, handled the situation without us having to be there. It's just no way that Martin just had, like, a regular concussion. He got hit by a tree. That has to be, like, the top. She talking about rest a couple days. He might need a couple months. He got to have the highest grade of a concussion you could probably have. Like, I'm just like, ain't no way. That man got hit by a whole tree. A tree that flew through the window with the velocity of wind. You know what I mean? Anita also did ask Vernon, was he worried about the clubhouse? And he was just like, I'm not really worried about the clubhouse. I'm worried about the lives. He was like, I'm glad no lives was lost. Y'all know, because that's Vernon family clubhouse. I'm just like, the clubhouse is probably good and insured. Y'all probably be able to fix that in no time. We did not see Danny and Andre this episode, but I am interested to see today, in today's episode, the update on them. Also, I thought it was interesting because there were a little bit of recalls during this episode, and Chelsea was just like, she was talking to Vernon at one moment, and she was saying that she was so concerned about trying to find Kat, that, you know, she was asking him, is this how the family felt when she was missing in that cabin with Allison? And I was just like, dang, I didn't even think that this event with people missing could even be triggering for Chelsea. But I'm glad to know that she was okay, and I'm glad that she was among the number who did not go missing. Because, you know, for a while they were worried about Danny and Naomi and Bill, because all of them were all over the country club, you know. But yeah, I think that's all. This episode was really just like not a filler episode, but a builder episode, you know, dealing with the aftermath of the tornado. And we'll see, I guess, the rest of this week, the rest of the dealings of the aftermath of the tornado as well. So yeah, y'all, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back. If I miss anything, leave me down a comment down below, and I'll be back with more videos. Deuces.